Hey everyone, Mary here. Hope you had an awesome weekend, awesome Labor Day holiday weekend. Perhaps you did something cool or you went somewhere exciting. I know for myself, I had a pretty satisfying weekend in the sense that I was able to sleep in, work on errands around the house that had been piling up and just feeling really productive there, but also having time to hang out and go around the island, visiting friends, family, without having any kind of strict timeline that I normally have when it's not a holiday. So whatever you did, hope you had an awesome time. But I wanted to do a couple of videos. It's around a question that is asked of me frequently, and I figured I would break it up into two videos. So the first video is really about what tools would I recommend to job seekers that are either low cost or free that would be beneficial to their efforts in the job search. And I thought it was a great question. I mean, not everyone can commit resources, be it financial or time, to their job search, but they should, but that's a separate conversation. But I would say that my favorite recommended tools that are free or low cost would be the following. Okay, so number one, there is a bunch of tools made by Careerflow AI that I highly recommend. Namely, their LinkedIn profile optimizer tool is really helpful because it will scan your LinkedIn profile, kind of identify and assign, a rating to it in terms of its health. If it's a optimized profile for recruiters and other hiring people to find you. But beyond assigning it, say, like a grade or a number, it gives you really tangible advice as to what would need to change for suggestions for the profile. Okay. And this is the thing where, it is really helpful because a lot of people, they know that, oh, the profile has to change and maybe it's this or that, but they don't really know what else, like what sections, and then why. So this tool will actually provide some level of that information to you for free. But Careerflow also has other tools that are really helpful for job seekers, like tracking your applications and statuses as your application goes through the different hiring stages, which are awesome. I know from a coaching practice, I do use it with people in my own practice, and there's more features beyond what I'm describing, but they're tools of free things are really good. So you should check them out. I'm going to mention that I'll put some comments or notes in the comments of where you can find these things. Another great tool that one of my friends who is an awesome resume writer suggested was, these job scanning tools and resume scanning tools such as JobScan or Skillsyncer. Basically, these tools take your resume, take the job description, kind of do their thing to analyze how close a match you are from your resume perspective to the stated job position that's been posted. Yes, so there are a lot of tools out there that can do that. Certainly JobScan is a popular one. I've heard good things about it. A friend of mine had also suggested Skillsyncer, which I'm going to recommend because at this point in time, from what I understand, people can get certainly the paid version if they want to have unlimited scans, but they can also get 3 free scans, I believe, a week under the Skillsyncer service, like ongoing. So you can kind of see where your resume matches up to the stated job description. The idea here is that it'll give you, again, another kind of ranking or percentage of how high you match to the position. and then suggestions on the things that need to be changed or the certain skills that should be emphasized. If you follow me, this is not a silver bullet kind of tool. It's there to be suggestive and helpful as an overview. It's not going to fix and guarantee things that people will call you, but it will give you an idea of how your document of the resume is matching up to what is being asked for in the job description. Okay, so that's another one, Skillsyncer. Okay, so the third tool that I would say, I mean, it seems like a no-brainer, but I'm going to say it anyway. It is ChatGPT. But like a lot of the advice out there about this tool, I would say, you know, it does apply to job seekers and what they use for the tool. I mean, you can use it for a lot of different things, including like coming up with popular interview questions for this specific role, right? As well as, hey, take a look at a certain job description and tell me what are the top 3 or 4 skills or responsibilities, you know, highlighted. As you know, that many companies write a laundry list of everything they want in a prospective hire. So ChatGPT can be really helpful with, you know, sifting through all the information and really distilling the top points. You can get a bit fancy with it, I would say, and actually play with the prompts, as many people who've been working with, you know, this generative AI, you know, ask your questions in different ways to refine your results. So a way of doing that would be saying, hey, can you improve my resume so that it suits this job? And by asking it, you're also copying in your resume without the personal information details, because you don't want to do that. But you can copy and paste your resume contents, and then later on when you talk about the job description, copy and paste in the job description contents and see what you get, and you will get output. So like a lot of things, I tell people it's meant to be a tool for brainstorming in that creative process. You should not be relying on that as your final work product by any means. It should be a starting point by which you work on it, you know, refine it a bit better, but not, ideally not as your own work without any kind of edit or look to revise it. But ChatGPT is pretty outstanding. It has so many uses of it. The more you can play with it, you know, the more interesting it gets, I feel. Okay, so the last free tool or resource that is out there that I like to tell people about, you know, it's actually kind of it's more of a hack. And I think if you've seen any of my other videos, I talk about this, but basically you can look at the LinkedIn hiring guides that are out there. They're free. Anyone can access them. They're really designed to be more, you know, interview guides for people who are tasked with interviewing people. So say, you know, you are asked to be on an interview panel of a potential, you know, hire, someone that might be your teammate, and they're like, okay, ask them questions, and you really don't know what to ask. This guide by LinkedIn can give you questions to ask, and they break it down by the role. They also break it down by, you know, the technical know-how that you have to have, soft skills, behavioral questions. It's actually quite good. So job seekers can actually use this guide to get a sense of questions that might be asked of them in an interview that are not your common questions that you see online. But also it shows notes on what the person interviewing should listen for in your response. So I think that's incredibly helpful as you're crafting your stories, your responses to put in an example that you're going to share that address these things. So very valuable tool to use. I think it's like an interview hack is what I call it, because it's like it's giving you the answers in a lot of ways, or what people are really trying to ask you when they ask a certain question. But those would be my 4 resources that are either free or low cost that I would recommend to people who are in the market. So do you have others that you would like to include on this list that maybe I don't know of? Let me know. Feel free to drop a comment or send me a message. I'd love to hear. Thanks.